What crew you represented?
I represent Soulshifters and House of Hybrids.
Oh, okay, nice.
My two free expressionist families. Soulshifters is my West Coast family that adopted me in, really taught me the essence of what it means to freely express yourself, but to be an artist with self-thought, to think for yourself as an artist. I think that they really helped me on that journey to figure out myself as an individual, which I'm so grateful to be part of the family. I can't say that I see them all the time because East Coast, West Coast. I'm one of the only East Coast representatives of that family, but I'm extremely proud to be part of that family. They mean a lot to me. They've done a lot from not just my dance career, but also for me as a person individually. And then House of Hybrids, that's like my family. That's my, House of Hybrids are the people that have stuck with me since I moved to Florida. We're not just like crewmies, you know. We know each other's parents, you know. We're family.
When did they start throwing Red Bull in Orlando?
I mean, I think this is the first time that on a bigger scale that they decided to throw the finals, and I got asked to judge for Breaking Down the House, which was a really big honor to be asked to judge on that caliber of event in representing Florida. But what made it more special was all my family was there. So like one of the MCs was Ivan, you know, the urban action figure. I grew up not just watching him, but he moved to Long Island for a segment of time, and he was a huge inspiration. He used to come to my high school and get down with us. He used to come to my Sachem hip hop club and just be there and throw down and inspire us as young b-boys and b-girls. And then you have my homie Jansen, who is there, and he's X-Fiend's family. I grew up watching X-Fiend's family from a teenager and on, so having that little piece of home, you know, I always call them X-Fiend's my hometown heroes, having that piece there, it felt like I wasn't just experiencing a Florida event, I was experiencing the culture with my New York homie. And then having the Hybrids there and having the Shifters there, I felt like every part of me as a creative artist was there. And then of course, my family, you know, my wife and my kid. And to be able to experience that with your kid that's like not even 3 at the time, and he was just taking this all in, that's what made the event special in itself. One of the highlight moments was when House of Hybrids, X-Fiends, and Soulshifters, we just had a session together. But it had nothing to do with the event. It was just like, okay, we gotta wait an hour for them to set up the lights. We took 2 JBL speakers, we linked them together, couldn't hear them for shit, and just tried to get down. But the energy, you could tell that we all understood one another. It was like a universal conversation, and it wasn't just breaking, it wasn't just house. We're just talking about movement, creative movement, and we're just feeding off each other, and that was probably, as far as the event, the highlight of the event for me, just having all those people in the same Cypher, just having a good time, conversing. And it wasn't even about like, oh, he killed it. We were practicing, we were training, and then we were also throwing down and battling each other, and then one-upping one another. I don't know, it was just a perfect moment for me to have that. All the people that I really look up to and care about just all on one floor. It was great. I feel like, and I could be completely wrong in saying this, growing up in New York, I grew up with the idea that there's house dancing and that there's b-boying. But Steph Fiends would technically be the only people in my life that merged it, where it was one concept, one dance. They really married the two worlds. I was too immature at the time to really realize it. Later on in life, becoming a soul shifter is where I realized, oh wow, like there is not a separation unless you make it a separation. And there was this one time I came back to New York. I was at Funk Box, and Khalif was there, and he was just sitting, you know, tall Khalif. He was just sitting on like the side of that Sullivan room, and I come up to him and I look up to him. I'm like, yo, Leaf. I'm like, yo, any advice on my dance? Like, how do I get better as a house dancer? And he looked at me and he says, little bro, don't worry about it. One day you're gonna learn to marry your two worlds. And I took that to heart. Like, as a young dancer, I took it to heart because I never really considered the concept of taking my breaking culture that I grew up with and this newfound respect for house music. house dance. And then when I became a shifter, they taught me how to it's just one concept. So when you see how a lot of the shifters move, it's just one train of thought that comes from multiple inspirations, how I interpret it at least. And I guess passing that essence down to like my family in House of Hybrids, we try to carry that concept forward. But I never forget, I first originally grabbed that thought from Seth when I first, where I was growing up. While it was house music and house dancing, you don't discredit that we're b-boys first. And we're gonna move that way, and you should never discredit it either. So just taking your movements that you already have and allowing it to apply itself in its own time and its own patience without forcefully trying to say, this is this and this is this. It's just one train of thought.
That's why I didn't hit the other ciphers, because I would have felt out of place. And obviously, like, I like hitting other ciphers, but this one felt like at home.
I mean,
Besides you, but
no, but you're right. That cipher was beautiful, because at some points we're like, oh, he's doing footwork. I want to get some footwork in. Oh, this person's doing moves. Let me do some moves. Seth would do capoeira, and then be like, oh, I want to do some lofting techniques. It was like a random movement conversation, but everybody was in on it, and it didn't feel like anybody was like, well, I don't speak that language. Everyone was trying to speak this language, and that, for me, that's the beautiful part of this culture, is when you can get around people that have the desire to speak a universal language in movement. I mean, dude, just touching base on Seth and Orb, I mean, we've been watching these guys since 2000, when the first Red Bull events were broadcasted on DVD, VHS, Lords of the Floor. So seeing them and being in person is like, you guys are still moving. Like decades of influence. And, we get older and you start to question, can I keep doing this? Should I even try to keep doing this? I'm getting injured. Or you question whether you could keep up with this lifestyle and if your body can keep up with it. And then you see these guys doing it, and maybe they're not as youthful as they once were, but the key thing is to see them still enjoying this. That, to me, knowing that they're older than me, they're my predecessors, so to speak, right? There are a lot of our OGs. Seeing them still moving great and enjoying movement was probably one of the biggest inspirations of 2021, because it really showed me what are you doing? These guys are older and treating their life, their bodies, their minds more healthy than you are. And I'm pretty sure they've gone through their amounts of stress and anxiety or whatever about this, but I think what it transferred over to me was just getting yourself back to a place where physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you feel good about this art and this craft, and you can move because you're treating it like a mature artist, not just some teenager that throws down, doesn't stretch, doesn't look at their body about how it can operate and think more healthy. Because we never taught that stuff when we were kids. But to see the people that you look up to since you were a kid still doing it, you're like, what am I doing with my body? And one of the biggest regrets I think I would have growing up, no matter what career I decide to go into, I would really, really regret if I stopped dancing. It doesn't matter what happens. If I book a role, if I'm on a show, if I'm in a movie, or I create this film. I love my creative career, but personally, I've been dancing since I was 14 years old. And if I just didn't push myself to keep doing it for as long as I could, I would have a lot of regret in my life. And that moment with Seth and Orb really reminded me, you could be as young as you want, for as long as you want, as long as you treat it maturely, with respect.
To me, one of the highlights that passed that it was the best was, remember when this guy was printing money?
Oh my. Okay, let me tell the story. So I think I got it on footage. Oh, I did. I got it on footage. So I had to print a check out from an acting gig that I did. But it was sent digitally. So I was like, let me go on the computer, but I didn't have like a printer. So I just asked the front desk, do you guys have a printer? I went to the printing station and I looked up it and I printed out my check. But before I was able to print the check, there was a guy who jammed the printer and used up all the paper. So I had to go to the front desk and say, hey, you guys are out of paper and something's wrong with the printer. Because the guy before I got there was printing out money. I don't know what he did. He took like either a fake dollar bill, a scanned $100 bill, and he put it in a document, a PDF file, and printed it like 100 times. I don't know if he was gonna come back and cut it and then try to use the dollars as actual money. But eventually I got my stuff printed, which was actually usable. But this guy legit wanted to use paper. Get that paper, you know? Alright, check this out. The guy before me tried to print a bunch of counterfeit money.
Oh man, we about to buy cars today.
Alright, there's more. This is what he did. Look at this. Look at this.